I would like to call to order the May 15th, 2023 Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners regular meeting. Welcome, everyone. If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For our invocation tonight, I would ask you all join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. We would like to welcome our youth commissioner tonight, Mary Lou. Did I pronounce that correctly? And Mary is from Northwest Cabarrus High School. We're happy to have you joining us tonight. Okay, first up is the approval or correction of the minutes. You all have a copy of those in front of you. Do I hear notice of any changes or corrections or a motion to approve as presented?
Mr. Chairman, I'll approve it. Make a motion that we'll approve it as it's presented.
Thank you. Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next up is a motion to approve the agenda. You have a copy of that before you as well. So do I hear a motion to approve the agenda, including the changes on page 32?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of one item of new business, and that new business would be a discussion on the Central Cabarrus High School tennis courts.
Okay, we have a motion, commissioners. Do I hear a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. And we move now to recognitions and presentations. We're happy to have Bob Bushy with us tonight to talk about the 2023 State Rodeo Competition. Welcome.
Good evening. It is called the rodeo. They just spell it that way.
Just spell it that way, okay.
So Cabarrus County Transportation has been a member of the North Carolina Public Transportation Association for going on 20 years now. We have a conference every year. This year it was in Concord. And we have the rodeo competition the Saturday before that. This year was the first year since COVID that we had the competition again. Everybody in the state competes. It's a timed obstacle course. This year we had 3 drivers enter. We had Mr. Jamie Robinson, Miss Carla Caldwell, and Miss Terry Carroll. This was the first time that these 3 drivers have ever competed in this competition, and I'm happy to say out of 42 teams, they won 3rd place for the state of North Carolina. And they told me that next year they will win it.
All right, very good. Congratulations. We appreciate you representing Cabarrus County, and we appreciate the service you provide to our citizens on a daily basis. Great. Okay, next item on our agenda is Veteran Services Memorial Day 2023 proclamation. I don't believe Tony Miller is with us tonight, so I will read that proclamation. Memorial Day Proclamation. Whereas our ancestors shaped the structure of our political system, laid the groundwork for higher discoveries in science and medical research, started long-lasting traditions that enrich our heritage, and fought in wars so that future generations would have freedom. And whereas it is important to cherish the memories of our friends and family members who have died and to remember their contributions towards making our lives better. And whereas the veterans who fought and died for our country helped preserve the freedoms and rights guaranteed to all people under the United States Constitution, and whereas on Memorial Day, Americans remember the enormous debt of gratitude we owe to our veterans who have lost their lives in the defense of freedom and the pursuit of peace, and we reflect on the past and renew our patriotism so that we may continue to live in freedom and seek peace so that our veterans will not have died in vain. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners do hereby recognize May 29th, 2023 as Memorial Day 2023 in Cabarrus County, and urges all residents in the county to take time on this special day of remembrance to honor those who have sacrificed and died to improve our quality of life and to strengthen our nation. Commissioners, you've heard the proclamation. Do I hear a motion to approve the proclamation as presented?
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say no. That motion passes. And we move now to informal public comments. Each person, I have the cards in the order that they were presented. Each person has 3 minutes at the podium to speak. There is a timer there. If the timer goes off, we ask that you complete the sentence that you're involved in and step away from the podium for the next speaker. And our first speaker is Scott Brewer.
Thank you all. My son's giving you photos of the men's tennis team and the dangerous playing surfaces at Central Cabarrus High School. These are the courts in most disrepair in Cabarrus County. You'll also see a photo of courts at Mount Pleasant, which are very similar to Hickory Ridge and Cox Mill and West Cabarrus and so forth. Steve Fall, Dave Calvert, Becky King, and now Colin Springer. These are the tennis coaches for the last 25 years. Each has been promised a facility upgrade year after year. There is a rock in the river, and I want you to look at that team photo very carefully. You may discover the rock. There is a safety issue here because of negligence. We had a player injure his knee this season. Franklin Park has been Central's match court for years, but this year, for various reasons, Central's men did not play there. Instead, we shared with Myers Park with Concord High. This was a scheduling nightmare, just with rain and everything. Nobody's fault. It's just difficult with rainouts and stuff, sharing courts. To my understanding from Concord's coach, Pam Beecher, Myers Park's going to be getting renovations this fall, which is expected to take the entire season away from the women's program. So they have nowhere to play except on those 4 courts. And our men's team actually had to play 2 matches. We started a match and then we had to make it up because of darkness got us, and we had to play there 2 days on those courts. Would you want your child playing on those tennis courts? For those not familiar with tennis, you need 6 courts to conduct a match. So we must have 6 courts. Fixing the 4 that we have is not sufficient because you have 6 singles matches and then 3 doubles matches. A match could take 4 to 5 hours long. So they need 6 courts to be able to play at home and not share. I say there's a rock in the river. Look at the team photo. That team represents what high school sports should be about. Those kids did not move to Central for the tennis program. They did not transfer because of a tennis pro coach or a team that had a chance to win a state championship. Every kid on that team, except for my son, never played tennis before high school. These are kids that show up for practice every day. They pull for each other, and they get better. This has given them a place in today's society. This has given them a place to learn life skills while playing a sport. I thank you for fixing the Mount Pleasant and Hickory Ridge courts last year, as well as their parking lots. I do not begrudge any of the schools for having terrific courts, but don't you think it's Central's turn? Why is Central the most visible school where more cars ride by every day than all the other schools put together, the ugliest and most embarrassing facility in the county? I believe for years it was thought that Central would be replaced with a new high school. So it kind of got pushed off. We're replacing that school. Well, now Northwest has grown so much, they're getting a new school next, and Midland's growing so much, they bought land for a new school there, and I understand that. But Central has gotten pushed back with upgrades and facility cares over the years. Ride by and look at it yourself. Back to the rock in the river. It appears to be who you know and what you look like is whether you get your courts fixed. My son's at Central because of the staff and the academic programs, not the facilities, but it's simply not right to deny the students at Central equitable facilities. Please do what's right and consider the courts, and I thank you for getting it on the agenda tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next card is from Brooklyn Vandergrift.
Members of the Board of Commissioners, thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. I am here tonight to represent Central Cabarrus Tennis. My name is Brooke Vandergrift, and I am a junior in the STEM program at Central Cabarrus High School. I've been a member of the women's tennis team since my freshman year, and this past year I was named captain. My freshman year, there were no fall sports due to COVID, therefore all sports were held in the spring. I had played tennis off and on recreationally as a child in Harrisburg, but had never competed until my freshman year. I also never knew I had a love for it until that spring season. Since then, I have devoted my off seasons to training and learning more about the sport. I currently train with a member of the UNC Charlotte women's tennis team, and I coach with Tennis Block Academy at Odell Primary School and Odell Elementary School. I am here tonight to kindly ask that the board consider funding for new courts with lights at Central Cabarrus. We currently have 4 courts, 2 of which are usable and no lights. A North Carolina high school match requires that 6 singles matches be held, followed by 3 doubles. Most high schools have 6 or more courts so that the singles matches can be played concurrently and doubles can follow. Some singles matches can exceed 2 hours alone. Also, women's tennis is played from August to October, and as darkness begins around 6 p.m., it becomes increasingly difficult to play without lights. Due to the conditions at our courts and lack of lighting, CCHS home matches have been played at Frank Lisk Park. County Parks and Rec has indicated that this is no longer an option moving forward. Les Myers Park, which is the next largest facility, will be under renovation in the fall and is also not an option. This leaves the 2 usable courts at Central as our only playing surface. Therefore, the CCHS women's tennis team currently has nowhere to play home matches in the fall. Lastly, as someone with joint issues, it would be detrimental to my safety and the safety of my team to play on courts with large cracks. One step in the wrong direction would end my tennis season and leave me with a large injury. Thank you for listening, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have or speak with you further about this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Caleb Butts.
Good afternoon. Before I would begin, I would like to thank Commissioner Wortman for adding our courts to the agenda. Hello, my name is Caleb Butts, and I play tennis at Central Cabarrus High School. I've been playing tennis now for 3 years at Central, and I've come today to talk about the inadequate tennis courts we have at our school. In the 3 years that I've played at Central, I've only ever played 1 match on our school's courts, and it had to be postponed for lack of time due to there only being 4 courts, where the standard would normally be 6. In addition to the less than ideal number of courts, our playing surfaces are also in unsafe condition. I don't know if any of you have looked at Central's tennis courts recently. The 4 courts we have are covered with cracks and grass that has sprouted up through the openings. Every season we spray our courts with weed killer in order to make them more safe to practice on, and several of our players have fallen due to slipping on the grass or tripping on the cracks. I wish I could say that I am proud of my tennis courts, but in all honesty, I feel like they are an embarrassment to us and the school. Because of these issues, for 2 out of the 3 years that I have played, our home courts, the courts we play our home matches on, have been at Franklin Park. Recently, however, we've had to transition to sharing our home courts with Concord at Les Meyer due to reservation issues at Frank Lisk. Sharing our home courts with Concord High has led to conflicts with scheduling, and since 2 teams can't play at Les Myers at the same time, we've been stuck looking for alternate courts to play on, or attempting to play on the courts we have at our school. Now that plans are being made to renovate the courts at Les Myers this summer, and we are unsure when they will be complete, I am more uncertain than ever where I will be able to play for my senior season. That being said, it would mean the world to me to play on safe courts at my school where I don't have to worry about conflicts and rescheduling. I am asking you to consider resurfacing our existing tennis courts and adding 2 additional courts to bring the total to 6 and to match the standard for most of our peer schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next speaker is Jerry Anderson.
Jerry Anderson. I was coming up here to talk about free speech. I like what you did tonight. You said informal comments and you called us up here. No law being around to escort you if you don't stay your amount of time. I appreciate that, and I hope it stays like that, because I'm one for free speech. And how important it is, free speech. It's very important. And George Washington said to a group of military officers, he says, if freedom of speech is taken away, the dumb and silent, we may be led like sheep to the slaughter. And these people are coming up here trying to talk to you. This is the face of the government here. Anyway, now I'll talk about something else. I'm talking about my child that was taken illegally up here. Evan Lee, I thought he was going to be a good guy. He says, what can I do to move this along? I said, get my intake. A couple days go by and finally talked to him. Did you get my intake? I was there. Did you read it? No. Intake's what I've been asking about. If he was there, why didn't he read about my intake? My intake would have told him that I went DSS for my daughter, not my granddaughter. She was neglected. My daughter was neglected, wasn't seen, and she's dead. And my granddaughter was taken on a Saturday night, second investigation that lasted no time. The first one ended in March, and the second one ended started April, and she was gone April 9th. Never to see her again. What kind of child, you take a child and they never see the people that raised them, the whole 7 years, never see them again? What is that to the child? What is that to me? What is that to my son? Anyway, this past Sunday I was held and detained for no reason. They investigated me and the people in the car, and I guess y'all hear me say I'm the perfect veteran up here, never had a ticket in my life, and y'all take a child from me. So y'all investigated me again. Y'all seen what was in my car, who was in my car. I'm here to tell you, the 3 people in my car had their ID. They were all good. The investigation, I wasn't riding with no guns or no dope. I didn't have no warrants, and I still have no tickets today, 7 years after my child's been taken. I'm still the same good veteran here. My child should be here with us. That's all I'm saying. And all I can do is tell.
Okay, our next speaker is Jeter Anderson.
Good evening, Jeter Anderson. I'm up here to talk about our DSS. Like our Central players, our DSS building is terrible. It's an old Kmart looking building. There's children over there in what I like to call the garden section of it. You can ride by and look, it's a garden section and the 2 doors. It's run like a department store. It's run like it looks. People in and out, unprofessional. It's uncaring. In fact, I actually got a call from the director, Karen Calhoun, for the first time since this happened. That's weird. She had contacted me a little bit sooner, I think. I don't know. It was nice to hear from Karen Calhoun, though. Maybe she can help. Anyway, this building is definitely need changing, and I think I've been up here talking about it before. This building may have caused an injury to my sister, you know, death. She was screened wrong. When you go inside this building, the doors open up like a Kmart, and then you got 3 doors you're looking at. It's kind of like this round room, and if you're lucky and you go to the right place, you know, maybe you'll get screened right. But if someone comes through and wants to rush and help you and don't know what they're talking about, they'll pull you into their department and screen you wrong, and your family's in a disaster, kind of like what's going on with mine. So we come up here and try to talk to Mike Downs, but he's locked his doors on this veteran asking questions about his daughter and his other daughter, and the doors are just locked. Terrible. Should never lock the doors on citizens that's outstanding and obeying. And the monsters at our DSS, I got confirmation that the 2 DSS social workers, Alicia Vanderpool, DeShonda Christian, are gone. And that's kind of relieving to hear, you know, for our community. We need to find out why and be more concerned about this child. I talked to Evan Lee about this child. I asked him about the intake. Why didn't he? Investigation A, investigation B. Y'all saying investigation A was about the child. Y'all saying investigation B was about the child. Investigation A was good. So investigation B, you know, investigation A was really about my sister, but somebody run through that social service door to get us. And I guess they liked that little child that we had, so they swindled her away. They did it out of fraud and negligence. They should have been more smarter and trained professionally, but that Kmart building is ridiculous. But I asked Evan Lee, why didn't he, you know, listen to that intake? Shouldn't he be concerned about a child? Shouldn't he act like this is not a black child? Shouldn't he act like this is his child? For God's sakes, it's a child, man. But I asked him, I said, was it because it's a black child? He told me to think what I want to think. And you know, I'm already thinking what I want to think about this child that's taken today. So you want me to keep thinking what I want to think? Yes, I think it's because it's a black child. You won't look into it.
Okay, our next speaker is David Hampton.
Good evening. My name's David Hampton, and I've just got some concerns, some questions that I'd like to ask. It seems like that every time I open a paper, every time I look at what's going on, it seems like there's another investigation. Talking about the one now that's involving Mr. Morris, I would like to know and ask a question. Should there not be an investigation on what happened prior to the primary when there was private meetings being held, talking about what was going to happen if they became a 3-2 majority and how they were going to come in and fire Mike Downs, basically upend the county? Should that not be investigated? I mean, honestly. I mean, I think that that's something that should be investigated. I worked for the county for 32 years, and I've been involved with the county for 40 years. And I can honestly say that for the past 8 years up until recently, we've had the best set of commissioners that we've ever had. And I can also say that from a county manager standpoint, and I've worked with several county managers, we've had one of the best county managers that we've ever had. So the reason that he was going to be fired just doesn't make sense. And I'll have to give Commissioner Wortman, you know, credit, because he's the one that actually looked into it and said, I'm not going to go along with this. I'm not going to play with this. And if he would have went along with it, what would have happened? The county would have actually been upended. Because I can tell you right now, the department heads respect Mike Downs. They respect Steve Morris, and they respect the Board of Commissioners because they get stuff done. And you've seen a department here tonight that got an award. Just about every department in this county has got awards at one time or another. And that's because of the leadership that's been shown, the money that's been put out by the commissioners, and the support that Mike has shown. And it just gets kind of tiring to constantly hear the bickering, the downing, and the power plays that are done instead of looking at what's best for the county. And I think it's time that we start looking at what's best for the county, regardless of who you pull for and regardless of who you don't pull for. And it's time to start looking at some things positively instead of constantly being negative. And with that, I'm done.
Okay, our next speaker is Stephen Bryant.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for your time. I'm here regarding evict less, house more. Cabarrus County residents are being needlessly evicted because a critical resource is no longer being available. Our ask is that the commissioners need to fully fund emergency rental assistance program because a resource that can reduce homelessness in the county. Through surveys, we found rents are increasing, not only in this county, but across the board. Cost of living are concerns of Cabarrus County. We're looking to our commissioners, whom are supposed to be representatives of the community, regardless of political party, and whom should make decisions that reflect the wants and needs of the entire community. ERAP, short for Emergency Rental Assistance Program, is cost-effective. Observing eviction court, we see that most people miss rents by only a couple $100s. And with that, with this particular program, it would help keep people in their homes, seeing that landlords are not taking partial payments. This will help tenants make full payments. We have a number of statistics and what have you that we've looked through and what have you, and the sources of this information is from Clear Impact, healthycabarrus.org, and towncharts.com. With the information that we've pulled together, Opportunity House, for one, registered an average of 33 new clients this month and comes out to about 280 clients for the year. Cooperative Christian Ministries received 480 applications for housing. To date, that's 1,386 people this year. We have a number of other statistics or what have you that I would be glad to sit down with either of you individually or in a group and discuss it to come up with some constructive solutions, but the ERAP program is something to be maintained. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Rick Hofferth.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. I'm also speaking about evictions in Cabarrus County. I think we're all painfully aware of the chaos that the pandemic created the last 2 or 3 years, and a lot of people fell short on rent because they lost jobs. Now that the pandemic is waning, and the federal funds that made the ERAP program possible have run out, we still have a problem in Cabarrus County with evictions. It's in the news at least every week that rents have gone up astronomically, some over 100%, pinching people's pocketbooks along with inflation. And so we are asking that the county commission consider replacing the lost funding that was federal funding with county funding in the county budget, because there is a need. And I was looking at the mission statement for the county, and it said part of it is to determine county needs and then to provide services that enhance the quality of life. This is one of those programs, keeping people in their homes so that they can still work, they can get their kids to school, they can still be consumers of services and goods in our county. So we encourage you, please, to consider that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jasmine Luter.
Good evening, County Commissioners. My name is Jasmine Luter, and I have lived in Cabarrus County for 17 years. I am here today asking that you save the Department of Social Services Emergency Rental Assistance Program. For the last 4 months, I have been out knocking doors, and I have spoken with hundreds of residents in the county and asking about what issues are most prevalent right now. The issue we learned that is burdening people the most is the cost of living, especially regarding rent increases. In Cabarrus County, 44% of renters have trouble affording their homes. This year alone, over 2,500 families have been served evictions. That is more than 3.5% of the county population. When housing costs too much, families can lose their homes. This county has focused so much on renovating and bringing new people in, but what about the people who are already here and have been here for years? Current residents need resources. We have a program that can prevent people from being displaced, and no one has access to it. We need emergency rental assistance. We need to keep people in their homes. As county commissioners, you are supposed to represent the community and make decisions with the community's interests at heart. So commissioners, I urge you to take a look around the county and see what renters are dealing with on a daily basis and fully fund emergency rental assistance program. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sabrina Berry.
Good evening. I won't repeat what you already heard. I think each of you know how important it is to bring the resources that the community needs. Now, at Down Homes, we say we want to elect everyday working people because they have real life experience. And sometimes I think that maybe those that are elected may not have those personal experience to understand the resources that the community needs. So we're asking you to fund the Department of Human Services Emergency Rental Program and contribute $8 million to their budget to subsidize it from the federal funds that was lost. Have you ever sat in eviction court or knocked the doors in the community? Because as Jasmine has said, we have knocked hundreds of doors in this community, and we hear the same thing over and over. We have sat in eviction court and talked to those that are left. And what this program does is if you have a job loss and that 1 month you don't know where that income is going to come from, you can go down to the department that has a mission to serve the community and ask for those temporary assistance and maybe to have 1 month of rent while you search for another job opportunity. And outside of that, I do want to thank you, Commissioner Wortman, because I sat at the school board meeting last week and I heard Cabarrus, Central Cabarrus talk about their tennis court. And you seen something, you said something, and you had the ability to do something, and that's what you did, and I appreciate that. And I hope that you guys would consider fixing that tennis court, because as the young man said, there's no reason why this school, when you drive by, doesn't look so good, and they got one awesome principal. And with that, some of you may say, where are we going to find $8 million? That's that part of that budget that I know you have staff to do it, but if you take a look at it, look for those surpluses and deficits at your year-end financials, look for those variants and start to reduce and redirect to the community needs. May God bless you and heaven smile upon you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Justin Luter.
Good evening, County Commissioners. I'm Justin Luter. I am a resident. Been here 17 years, as my daughter revealed. Also a father and a business owner in Cabarrus County. And so I'm going to start with the vision for the board says, our vision for Cabarrus is a county in which our children learn, our citizens participate, our dreams matter, our families and neighbors thrive, and our communities prosper. There is no better way to ensure that our communities prosper than to ensure that we have emergency assistance for persons that are facing eviction. It's just a simple matter. It's just business sense. Even in our mission statement for the board, it says good stewardship. Stewardship is about being honest with the dollars that we have, and it just makes good business sense to preserve keeping people in their homes for a few $100s versus the amount of damage and harm that could come to a family should they be broken up due to eviction, should they be forced to depend on multiple public resources versus a single resource which could keep them in their home, keep their family intact. And then I know us, most North Carolinians, and if you're a conservative, I'm a firearms instructor. If you're a conservative, then you do not want to live off of the federal government. McKinney-Vento, which provides resources for children that no matter where they end up, they have to maintain their school attendance so they can be driven half across the county. We must provide the transportation. While those are federal dollars, it still makes a difference to keep them in the home. And I know we don't want to depend on federal dollars as a county or even as a state. And so I'm asking that we make sense and we look at the cost it would cost us to keep families in their homes versus the cost that would come to have break up families, potentially husbands and wives might not be able to stay with their children. Auntie or grandma would say, I'll take the kids, but I won't take you. All kinds of challenges can come from when people are evicted. Usually evictions come from a single incident. It could be a medical experience, it could be a transmission in a car, you lose your job, as Sabrina mentioned. All of these kinds of challenges can be evaded or avoided, rather, if we allow or if we find a means to keep people in their homes. I am a man living with cancer. My medical bills are through the roof. I am blessed that I'm able to still maintain my work, my business, and I can only imagine what my experience would be like if all of a sudden I had to turn around and need assistance which I could not have. So I implore you to consider the EBRAT program.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mark Ortiz.
Good evening, Mark Ortiz from Kannapolis, and I would also like to speak on behalf of Saving the ERAP program. Now, I imagine most of you probably are homeowners, and probably, unless you are unusually fortunate, you had to apply for a loan. And when you went and applied for a loan, your payment, in order for you to be considered for the loan, had to be like 28, 30, roughly % of your income, because it's conventional wisdom that if your payment for your housing is more than that, it's not a very sustainable situation, and you therefore are a poor risk on the loan. Now, when we go out and talk to renters, nobody around here is renting an apartment for anything like 30% of their income unless they're making a lot of money. People are paying $1,300 to $2,000 a month for, in some cases, run-down apartments around here. The cost is ridiculous, and this isn't ending as the COVID pandemic shifts to an endemic disease. But the funding for ERAP has gone away. Let's do a little mental math. If you're working for minimum wage, your annual pre-tax income, $725 times 2,000 hours, it's $14,500. $1,300 a month is $15,600. It's more. Never mind buying anything else. If you're working for $15 an hour, which was considered an ambitious ask for a minimum wage, it's over 50% of your pre-tax income. There's a lot of people working for less than $15 an hour. I saw one person in eviction court who was in eviction court just because her employer was late with the paychecks. That was all it took. When you've got people in a situation where they're living hand to mouth, the slightest glitch will put them into default. ERAP helps this, and it's cost effective because it helps this. It takes the tip off the iceberg. Therefore, it's the ounce of prevention that's worth a pound of cure, and it deserves to be funded. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Christopher Adams.
How y'all doing today? So, my name is Christopher Adams, and I was coming to speak about fully helping with the emergency assistance here in Cabarrus County. So, from firsthand experiences, I had a friend of mine who had 4 kids, and one of her children had got COVID, so she couldn't go to work. So she was late on the payment, couldn't make the whole, payments or whatnot for the rent, and she ended up being evicted. So when she called me, the only thing I could do was help her get into a hotel. Hotel was $500 a week with 4 kids. And not only was she not able to pay all of that due to the simple fact how much she made, it put a strain on her kids living in this one confined place. So we went around helping her, trying to get some assistance for no help. Even when she applied for other places to live, it was on her record, so nobody would rent to her. So what happens is people are put in situations where they could be moved ahead by just 1 month of assistance that would be able to put them in a situation where they'll have to be moved ahead or set back for a year and a half, 2 years. So what I'm asking is for some help. Help the people here in Cabarrus County get to where they need to be, because not only would it help with the crime rate, because when people are put in situations where they have to survive, they will go do things they shouldn't do. Not everyone, but they have to take care of their families. So crime rate will go down, panhandlers will go down. We have a lot of panhandlers out here. That's because they have nowhere to go. They're looking for assistance from people. So if we had little programs like this, it would help us out tremendously. Y'all have a blessed day.
Thank you. And that is all of the yellow cards that have been turned in tonight. So we will now move to our consent agenda. Commissioners, all the items that you see on the consent agenda are items that we have already previously discussed at our work session 2 weeks ago. Do I hear a motion to accept or approve the consent agenda as presented?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. And we move now to new business from Planning and Development, 2020-2021 Home Program Amendment to Project Activities. And we're happy to have Kelly Sifford to talk about that prior to our public hearing.
Thank you. So as many of you remember, we had planned with Concord to construct a home and be sold to a low-income owner through their with them in conjunction with their programs. They had a lot that we were going to build on. As we got the money and got ready to build, the construction prices had increased so much that we could not afford with the amount of money that we had in order to pay for our side of that construction. So we waited, we tried a couple times to see if the price would come down. It has not. As an alternate, we want to work with Habitat for Humanity. We want to tentatively do 285 Academy Street. We're working on some issues there, but we think we can get through those. If we can't get on that site, we will still work with them, but on a different site. But we need to hold a public hearing in order to make that change.
Okay, thank you. You have heard Ms. Sifford's comments, and there is, it does call for a public hearing. This has been advertised, as are all of our public hearings. So at this time, I will open the public hearing and invite anyone to the podium that would like to speak on this matter. Okay, hearing no one, I will close the public hearing, and I do not believe this item calls for a vote. It just simply meeting the requirements for a public hearing. So we will now move to item G2, and from the county manager, presentation of the fiscal year 24 recommended budget, and I'll turn it over to County Manager Downs.
Chairman Morris.
Yes,
See
sir.
if I can make a motion to move the tennis courts in front of the budget so that the people that are staying for that conversation can get home at a decent hour.
Yeah, I have no objection to that. Do I hear a second to that motion? Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes, and we will move item G3 to next, and then item G2 will come afterwards. So I will turn the floor over to you, Commissioner Workman.
All right. I had the pleasure of attending the school board meeting Monday night, all 5.5 hours of it. And it was heartbreaking to see students have to come beg for the right to play. We always push things off for that, but I think another important aspect of that is if they can't play, those are scholarship opportunities that are lost. It's time outside that's lost. I know I've sent an email telling everybody that I was going to do this tonight, and that's why I put it on the board or on the agenda. But we normally don't have the amount of money that we have in our commissioner's contingency fund. Normally it's and Rodney, it's $300,000 per year. We had a little bit more of a surplus in that this year, and I think our current total is $900,000, around that. So it's an opportunity that we have to fund something that we normally wouldn't. And I understand that there's other needs that we have. There's HVAC systems, there's an endless list, I think $400 million worth of deferred projects with the schools alone. But this is one that we can effectively change, and we can effectively change that right here and right now. I've talked to Dr. Kopicki. I do have another meeting with him tomorrow. His rough estimates right off the bat, very rough, he was going to get them fine, a little finer tuned, is it'd be about $400,000 to build 2 additional ones and resurface the other ones, is what we're looking at. So I do plan on making that motion tonight, but before I make it, I'll just give everybody else a chance to have comment on it. But I appreciate those students that did show up to speak, and I understand that every time students show up to speak, we can't do something, but we do have that opportunity now. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I will be pushing for this as soon as this discussion is over.
Okay, Commissioners, we'll open the floor for discussion on this item. If anybody has anything they would like to say.
I just have a question. So this 400,000 is for 2 additional courts and renovations, and I heard a student speak about lighting. Has that been addressed anywhere?
That's not been addressed, which I can take that up tomorrow, but they went out, the engineer and the architect and Dr. Kopicki went out, and they looked at Central, they looked at several schools, and they looked at a couple of schools that had previously been resurfaced to kind of see how those are holding up, but the lights were not addressed.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a few comments about this. And Kenny and I, we talked about this, and I'm a graduate of Central. I ain't gonna tell you what year, it's been a long time ago. But I'm surely in favor, without any question, to see that the tennis courts are repaired and the 2 additional courts added to that. But the problem that I have, and I hope that you folks will understand where I'm coming from as a commissioner, and that is that if we was to say, yes, we're going to do it right now, well, in fact, what we had just done, if we would do that, we would totally sidestep the school board. And see, we don't have any governance over the school board. The school board takes care of the schools. And so, with all due respect, this request should have came to the commissioners through the school board as a capital improvement project. And now, Dr. Kopicki obviously is not here, and Mike, you might know, has this been presented to us before from the school board?
Previous years, yes.
See, a lot of times we have projects, because it's like Kenny said, we have projects that, they request hundreds of millions of dollars. And there's no way that we can do that, so we have to fund what we can fund with what we've got. But if it don't come from the school board, can you imagine what kind of position that will put us in? Because other entities and schools and organizations will come to us and bypass the system. And so I couldn't support it unless it came from the school board. And that's where I'm at, because I look at HVAC systems in the schools, roofs, chillers, and other things that require our attention. And that list is hundreds of millions of dollars. And I can't see bypassing the school system. And I appreciate you kids coming up here. I appreciate you having the nerve to do it. It takes courage to come up here and talk with us about it. But it's going to have to come from the school board as far as I'm concerned. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have to say about it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Well, I would just echo what Commissioner Shue has said. Obviously, this is a need that needs to be addressed, and I certainly have no problem with doing that, with the exception of what you have pointed out. We do receive rather large lists from the school board on a regular basis, and one of the requests that I know that I have made in the past is, please prioritize the requests that you bring to us. Let us know what you think is most important, so that I feel like that should be their responsibility, because they are elected by the people to make those requests. Now, and I have some concerns about superseding another elected body, even though we provide funding to the schools. That's typically that goes along with a plan on their capital improvement plan and that sort of thing. The one thing that I did hear that that makes me question that there potentially has been some lack of coordination between the parks and the schools, and maybe they were not aware of the impact that that was creating on the renovation plans. I'm not sure. Someone had mentioned to me that the conversion of some of our tennis courts to pickleball courts had some impact on the availability of courts. So I can see how that could have slipped through the cracks a little bit. So I don't have a real concern about funding this proposal. I would prefer to see us take it up in the during our work session, like we normally have projects of this nature where we can ask representatives from the school system to come in, explain their priorities, talk about the technical aspects of the project. You know, if we were to make a motion and pass it tonight, we do not have the information on the lighting issue and what it will cost to address that. I would hope that could be, sounds like that's a need that needs to be addressed as well. So that would be my recommendation, is that we defer action on this to our work session where we can have the proper people come in and talk about the project with some more specific cost information. That would also give our staff an opportunity to take a look at our budget funds and what might be available to address it, and see what we can do. I'm not saying ignore it, but just defer it to be more in line with our normal process. And if there are no other comments, then I'll turn it back to you, Commissioner Workman.
I got a couple of questions. So, Commissioner Wortman, you have brought this before us, and I do agree with Commissioner Shue and Commissioner Morris that it is sidestepping the school board. You know, usually, traditionally, just so everyone's aware, traditionally, you know, these items would come as a formal request from the school system to us rather than a commissioner bringing this up. But so I guess the question I have is that, you know, has the school system agreed to maintain these courts? You know, we can go in, we can spend $400,000, put the courts out, but if, you know, if clearly they're aware that you're going to bring this before us, but have they agreed to maintain these? I would assume they would. I've not asked specifically. And where this came from is at that school board meeting. It was said, well, if the county commissioners will fund it, we'll get it done before school starts. So to me, that's one elected body pushing blame off to another elected body, and that's a game that I'm not willing to play. Yeah. Now, how about so there would be 2 additional courts built. Would that be in the same area that the current courts are in? Is there enough room for that, or? From my understanding, the 2 additional ones would have to go up. If you're standing in front of the school, in front of Central, like on 49, it would have to go up on the left-hand side. I think they would have to have the 2 new ones in a slightly different location than the existing ones. Okay. To make it work.
And I think to answer your maintenance question, I mean, it would be like any other school facility. We give them the money to maintain them.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But, you know, they could say, well, we're not going to, you know, this was not a priority on our, you know, on our maintenance list. You know, I think there is a lot of maintenance that has been foregone in the school system that has, you know, created some issues. I think these courts have been in bad condition for a long time. Yeah, I graduated from Central Cabarrus in 2005, and I think at that time they were probably inoperable, from what I can recall. So,
So you had mentioned that you're speaking with Dr. Kopicki tomorrow, is that right? And is that to get a finalization of numbers, or where are we with that? Okay. And then my next question is, Rodney, if we were to pass this, we are okay on the commissioner's contingency to fund this?
So the full amount that we had received from the school district was 1.2 million.
Mm-hmm.
You have about 968,000 remaining in board contingency. So to fully fund the project, which would be, I believe, 3 schools, we would have to find an additional 240,000.
Okay, so there has been a request sent to us.
As part of the FY24 budget process, correct?
The budget process, okay.
And the 3 schools were Central, Northwest, and Concord?
I believe so.
I think so.
And I know that they're in the budget, but how, timing-wise for these students, if we were to fund this prior to, approving our budget, we could pull that back out of our budget?
So it is not currently recommended for funding based on.
Not currently in here.
Based on the priorities that we received from the school board in the availability of funding.
Okay.
With that being said, I will ask that we put this on our work session. With any board, you have to be able to count to a majority, and with what's been said, if I put this up for a vote tonight, it will not pass. But Lauren, I'd like to go ahead and ask that we just add it to our work session to give us a couple more weeks to get some final numbers and some legitimate numbers.
I feel sure that we'll be able to have representatives from the school system there to address that and answer questions. They typically are very responsive to those types of requests. Okay.
Kenny, can you ask them also, for Central Cabarrus, just strictly time-wise for the repairs? Because I just want to make sure that if we are able to get this taken care of, that there's enough time. I don't know when the tennis season starts, so I just want to make sure that we are.
August. August is when practice starts, and then matches won't start till about the middle of August.
Find out if that we have timing-wise that's going to be suitable for them.
Okay, and that gives us a time to get answers to those questions and to have somebody there. So now we will move back to item G2, which is presentation of the fiscal year 24 recommended budget from the county manager. I'll turn that over to Mr. Downs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The process that we typically take, I'll read through the letter here or the budget message and then pass that on to you. We will pass out the actual documents, the budget, proposed budget document for you to look at and review. And then, of course, over the next month and a half, we'll have several discussions and comments available as well. So, good evening. It is my honor and privilege to submit the FY24 recommended budget and the FY24 Community Investment Fund. Consistent with the board's direction at the annual retreat, this budget funds critical investments while maintaining a property tax rate at 74 cents per $100 of assessed valuation for a 4th consecutive year. That brings the general fund budget to just under $340 million. Across all funds, the budget totals just over $450 million. Staff prepared a budget informed by current and projected economic conditions, board priorities, and strengths and opportunities for improvement identified through the community and workplace surveys. The recent community survey revealed that more than 2/3 of the Cabarrus residents maintain a positive opinion of the county, with quality of life satisfaction scores rating higher than the national average across several categories. The most impressive results were related to the exceptional customer service provided by county staff. Of course, our team members are the largest reason for this. Therefore, we wanted to hear from them as well. In the fall of 2022, a workplace survey received a record 84% participation from our employees and revealed room for improvement in such areas as health insurance, pay, burnout, and other matters. While we focus on areas needing improvement, we cannot lose sight of the ways we excel. The survey revealed that employees feel valued by the organization and believe it is an inclusive workplace. We must continue to build on our strengths and prioritize the well-being of our workforce to meet our residents' expectations. This budget focuses heavily on retaining employees, attracting talent through strategic investments, including accelerating the review of the market data for all position salaries, funding longevity payments for permanent full and part-time employees with at least 5 years of continuous service, increasing the on-call pay rate for eligible employees, funding a 1% cost of living adjustment for employees and merit pay increases for up to 4% based on their individual performance, allowing employees to choose from 2 healthcare plans based on their unique needs of themselves and their families. These will have an impact on recruitment and retention without affecting the tax rate. Several new positions are created in this budget to reduce workload stress while maintaining quality service, including 5 new sheriff's office positions, an EMS training and education captain, 36.4 new positions to staff the new library and active living center at Afton Ridge, the expanded public library and active living center at Mount Pleasant and Virginia Foyle Park, a branch manager, part-time library assistant, and an increase in part-time position hours at the Midland Library branch, and a cybersecurity analyst in our IT department. As always, investment is critical for our education partners, Cabarrus County Schools and Kannapolis City Schools, and the Rowan Cabarrus Community College. Quality educators are crucial to the thriving economy. Since statewide pay for teachers is the same, locally paid supplements provide a competitive edge. The budget provides an additional funding to maintain the Cabarrus County School Supplement at 12% and includes a funding for a 0.5% increase for the local supplement for the Kannapolis City Schools, bringing their total to a 9% salary, 9% of their salary. The Cabarrus County Schools and the Kannapolis City Schools budgets also include funding to cover rising costs of locally paid staff, operating expenses, and technology. The Cabarrus County School budget totals $81.7 million. That's an increase of 11% from the prior year. The KCS budget totals $9.3 million, an increase of 4.7% from the prior year. And that's money coming from the county budget to the school systems. The county is also required to provide an equal per pupil funding for students attending charter schools. This results in a direct charter school funding to the CCS and KCS of $6.3 million. RCCC serves over 20,000 students each year and is vital in the workforce and economic development. The proposed budget includes $4.3 million for salary and benefit increases, utilities, a new locksmith position, and a new safety assistant director. These positions are co-funded by Rowan County. Excuse me. The budget includes a transfer of $38.2 million from the general fund to the community investment fund for current and future debt payments. The budget also includes $18.5 million from the county's Pay-As-You-Go or PAYGO program. PAYGO is the use of cash rather than debt to pay for needed capital projects. As previously discussed, Cabarrus County will issue $180 million in new debt in FY24, including, excuse me, I need some water real quick. Up to $60.1 million to acquire and renovate a space for the new Human Services facility in Concord. Up to $35 million to build a new public safety training facility for the Sheriff's Office, Squad 410, and our volunteer fire departments. Up to $19 million for Kannapolis City Schools to design and construct an additional classroom building at Fred L. Wilson Elementary School and replace the HVAC system at Forest Park Elementary School. The county is hopeful that Rowan County will cover a portion of the project cost based on their share of the student population. Up to $18 million for Cabarrus County Schools to complete their HVAC replacements at Central Cabarrus and Concord High Schools. up to $17.5 million to complete the upfit for the new public library and active living center at Afton Ridge, up to $11 million for Cabarrus County Schools to renovate the current R. Brown McAllister Elementary School to become the Mary Frances Wall Center, up to $7 million for Cabarrus County Schools to design and construct a replacement opportunity school that would allow the relocation from the aging Glenn Center to a new location, up to $7.5 million for Cabarrus County Schools to complete roof replacements at Cox Mill Elementary, Wolf Meadow Elementary, and Hickory Ridge High School, up to $5.3 million to replace the HVAC system at the RCCC South Campus. In addition, PAYGO will fund a significant number of essential projects, including $5.8 million for Cabarrus County Schools to fund 29 of their top 36 deferred maintenance projects, $4 million for future land acquisition, $2 million to design a human services facility in Concord, $1.5 million for Kannapolis City Schools to fund various deferred maintenance projects, $1.1 million to construct a new park office and ADA accessible mini golf course at Franklin Park, $1 million to replace the building chiller at the Sheriff's Office Administration Building, and finally $935,000 to replace the compactor at the landfill. In closing, I would like to thank our team members for their dedication and unmatched customer service, which makes Cabarrus County such a special place. Many team members contributed to the development of a budget responsive to the community needs, with a few that I want to specifically mention, and that's Rodney Harris, Kyle Billifer, Kelly Sippard, Lundy Covington, Rosh Khatri, Yesenia Panita, Sophia Politis, and Kasha Thompson, Ellie Landrum, Jim Howden, Suzanne Burgess, and our department leaders. I would like to commend the board for their guidance over the past year. Your dedication to the citizens of the county is admirable and recognized daily by those that live, work, and play here. I encourage the public to participate in the upcoming budget events, including on May 18th, county staff will host a Government 101 budget breakdown to provide an inside look at the budget fundamentals through interactive presentations and conversations. Residents can visit the county website and register for upcoming events. On June 5th, a public hearing will be held in the Commissioner's Chambers at the Cabarrus County Governmental Center beginning at 5:30 p.m., providing an opportunity for the public to address the board about the budget. On June 8th, the board will hold an optional budget workshop in the multipurpose room at the Cabarrus County Governmental Center at 4 o'clock to finalize the budget. And another budget meeting, which if needed, will be held at 4 p.m. in the Government Center in the multipurpose room. On June 19th, the board will adopt the FY24 budget in the Commissioner's Chambers at the Cabarrus County Governmental Center. That meeting will begin at 6:30 p.m., with the public having an opportunity to provide comments during the informal public comments, and of course, and during the public hearing as well. And of course, as the process continues, all budget information will be available for public review. We look forward to your thoughtful consideration of the recommended budget and input from the residences and businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, any questions or comments regarding the budget presentation?
Everybody's got their books now, right?
Yeah, everybody has a copy. I think there will be copies of the budget available in the county manager's office for inspection by anybody that wishes to see it. And I think it will be on the website as well, so you can pull it up there. I think it's important to note that for the commissioners, a lot of things that we heard in that presentation were things that we discussed at length during our retreat several months ago. So we gave a lot of direction, particularly in the area of taking care of staff and making sure that we're keeping up with the market. There are a number of governments that are in a crisis situation because they cannot retain their folks in order to provide the services that they need. So that has been this board stated that was a priority for them when we had our retreat back in February. And so I think those things have been addressed. I think it's important for everybody to, and hopefully you did a better job of retaining the dates than I did, but I know that on May 18th, which is later this week, we will have a Government 101 session. That will be held at the Milestone facility out off Kannapolis Parkway. The information about registration for that has gone out for a number of weeks. It's not too late. If anybody's interested in participating, I think they can still sign up. That is from like 9 to 2 and goes into great detail about talking about the budget. It's where anybody can come in, ask questions, ask for explanations. Typically, we have a number of staff people that participate in that. So that's a great opportunity for anybody that might be interested in it. Then, in just a moment, I think we will approve setting a public hearing for June the 5th, where anybody from the public can come in and comment on the budget. Then we've got another budget workshop scheduled. I missed that date, but it's a few days after that. June 8th. The 8th, on the 8th. So we will be able to receive any input that the public brings to us, and then we'll be able to sit down and discuss that information. If any adjustments need to be made to the budget at that time. Which I think is important, that once we get input from the public, then we have an opportunity to discuss it. Then there will be an opportunity once again at our regular meeting. I don't know that we'll have another public hearing, but we will have public comment session like we always do, which will be an additional opportunity. So we try to provide as many opportunities as possible for folks to express their opinion, to ask questions, and to be involved in the budget process. So I'm sure that all of those will be published on our webpage. Probably, I think our communications department will issue a press release outlining all those dates, so they're easy to get to if anybody is interested in those. Unless there are any other comments that anybody would like to make, at this time, I would entertain a motion to schedule a budget public hearing for June 5th, 2022 at, and I have 5:30 p.m. I think you said 6:30 p.m. 5:30 p.m. And that's the date of our regular work session. Yes. So, Commissioners, do I hear that motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. And we move now to reports, and first up is updates from commission members who serve as liaisons to municipalities or on various boards and/or committees. Does anyone have anything tonight? I would like to mention that I do serve on the Board of Trustees for Rowan Cabarrus Community College. We heard some funding that we're extending in our budget for some of their facilities in the upcoming year. They had their graduation ceremony this past Saturday at the Cabarrus Arena and Events Center. I think that they had, and I may get the numbers wrong, but I think they had 500 students approximately there that walked across the stage and received their diplomas, and they had significantly larger number of graduates, some of which were not able to participate in those ceremonies. Commissioner Workman was there as well, and so it is It is extremely rewarding to be able to see what these funds that we commit do for these students. Some of these students were, gosh, I wish I could remember the age range, but it was from teens to 60-some years old. That was the age range of students that received certificates or degrees, and all of them were taking steps to improve their lives and their careers, and I was very proud that Cabarrus County, along with Rowan County in this instance, is able to provide those opportunities for people in our community, as well as supply those workers to our local businesses and our workforce. So that was an excellent experience. Does anybody else have any reports?
Just briefly, I attended the Youth Commission's year-end banquet at Afton Tavern. All the students were there with their families and siblings, and it was a great night. Everybody got their little awards, and they're looking forward to next year. For the viewing audience and those here in person, if you have students in high school that are interested in becoming a youth commissioner, we will be taking applications in August? August. So we're looking for 2 members from each school. So I would encourage your children, grandchildren, neighbors, anybody to get involved. The students did a really good job this year with their summit, and I believe that is going to continue going forward. And I look forward to working with them again next year.
Great, thank you. Okay, if there are no other reports, we move now to general comments by board members. Does anyone have anything they would like to share at this time? I do have one item, and I was a little bit uncertain whether I wanted to do this one or not, but it was an issue that came up in some of our public comments, and that was regarding some of the press that we have seen over the past several weeks. And so I wanted to offer a few comments on that. The headline on the news report was Chairman of the Cabarrus County Commission under investigation by the SBI. And here are my responses to that. Having served in elected office for over a decade, I am accustomed to occasional criticism, sometimes even political attacks. My usual response is to take the high road and continue serving with honesty and integrity. If responding at all, I simply say that I respect everyone's right to an opinion. But the attacks over the past few weeks have gone beyond that. I was contacted by email on Friday, April 28th by a reporter from WBTV requesting an interview regarding an investigation by the State Bureau of Investigation. I called the reporter and told him I was hesitant to do an interview about a topic that I didn't know anything about. I had not been contacted by the State Bureau of Investigation at that time, and still have not been contacted by them. The reporter aired the story on WBTV on Tuesday, May 2nd, saying that the SBI received a request from the district attorney to investigate the sale of my business, the Gym Theater, to the city of Kannapolis. I later learned that day from a press release from the DA's office that the request to investigate the Gym Theater sale had been made by Midland Councilman Rich Wise. The DA's office issued another press release on May the 11th stating that, quote, Cabarrus County Commissioners are on both sides of this issue, unquote. Folks, when I heard that a commissioner was on the other side of this issue, meaning that person was working with Councilman Wise in filing a complaint or asking the SBI to investigate the sale of my business, that's when I understood that I was truly being attacked by extremists who are trying to undermine and destroy. Councilman Wise isn't acting on his own. This is an orchestrated, politically motivated witch hunt. This is an attack on my character. I have thick skin, you have to, being in public service, but I'm not going to stand for anyone, especially those intending to plot and destroy, making false accusations intended to damage my reputation. I will not allow these attacks to go unchallenged. I have done nothing wrong. I have broken no laws. I have maintained totally ethical behavior. I will pursue every legal remedy available to stop their attacks and to hopefully prevent them from going after others in our community who are willing to pursue public service through elected office. And those were my comments on that. And so I open up the floor for any additional comments from commissioners.
I'll go first. So I was just as shocked as you to read this press release from the district attorney that said that there is commissioners on both sides of this. I've been quiet throughout this. You know, I read the news articles about the State Bureau of Investigation looking into your matter. I seen those articles. I have not made a comment. I have not publicly made a comment. I have not done that because I felt like the investigation needs to run its course. But I have yet to be contacted by the State Bureau of Investigation for interview on your case. I have yet to make a press release. I never contacted the SBI regarding any of this. I've not worked with Councilman Wise on any of this. So I was just as shocked to read that press release as well, because it actually made me feel like I was getting pulled into something that I have tried to stay out of. This is an investigation on you and you solely, and it doesn't involve me. It doesn't involve any of the other commissioners. So as I said, I have not been contacted by the SBI, nor have I contacted them.
Great. So, thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Yes, sir.
I would like to say something. There has been involvement on this. I have the original FOIA request that was done by a citizen on June 7th, Tuesday, June 7th at 12:25, sent to David Goldberg, and there is a list of 19 things for that FOIA request, and number 9 is the Gem Theater. A follow-up email, number 2 says, all email correspondence, including attachments to and from Steve Morris containing information pertaining to COVID, mask mandates, Cabarrus County Fair, and the Gem Theater. And I'm going to walk up here, put it up on the projector so that everybody can see. I have blocked out the last name of the woman who did the FOIA request, but as you can see, number 9 is specifically highlighted with the Gem Theater. Here's the entire list of that FOIA request, which, by the way, I would like to point out cost the taxpayers of Cabarrus County thousands of dollars to get all this information. Money that could have gone towards the Central Cabarrus High School tennis courts. Here is a follow-up on that FOIA request. Number 2, all email correspondence, including attachments to and from Steve Morris containing information pertaining to. And there again, you see the Gem Theater. I've blocked out Stephanie's last name. And here's the text message from one of our commissioners, Barbara Strain. How do I get that off? That says, hey stranger, I keep forgetting to remind you to send me the FOIA request you received from the county. This is highly politically motivated. I find it disgusting. And if you'd asked me 8 months ago, would I be standing up here sticking up for Steve Morris, I'd have laughed in everybody's face. I'd have refused to let a good man's name get dragged through the mud. And this is what's been done.
So I understand you don't have anything to do with it, I respect that. But this is politically motivated, and I will fight with everything I can to make sure that this stops.
I feel like at this point, we need to let the investigation take its course. I don't think any of us want to be caught up in a SBI investigation with fraud and collusion. I don't think any of us want to be caught up in something like that. So that's why I've maintained my silence, that I feel like the investigation needs to take its course. The SBI will determine to what level, Chairman Morris has been involved in this. And I think for a FOIA request, they get that all the time. And if somebody wants to make a FOIA request, well, we can't stop that. And if somebody wants to do that and somebody is concerned about Chairman Morris's business dealings,
She made that request when my wife refused to do it.
Well, I don't know.
So like I said, I'm perfectly fine just dropping it here, not talking about it, but it was brought up that nobody had anything to do. I said my piece, and
Well,
that's where it's at.
Like I said, I don't know what prompted an SBI investigation. I'm not getting into it. I'm not getting involved in it. Like I said, I've had no dealings with them at all whatsoever. I'm not sure the SBI is just going to go off of somebody walking into an office claiming this. The SBI is going to investigate, and so it's just going to run its course.
Other comments? Okay, hearing none, we do have need of a closed session tonight. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session as authorized by North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A 3 and 5 to discuss pending litigation and the acquisition of real property.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. We are now in closed session. Thank you all for joining us tonight, and thank you to those joining us on television and online.